The moving truck pulled up to the small house on Maple Street on a warm spring afternoon. Dasam stood in the back seat of her parents' car, pressing her face against the window to watch the workers carry boxes and furniture into the modest two-story home. She was 11 years old, and her life had just become a lot more complicated. Her parents had decided to move from Busan to this quiet suburban neighborhood outside Seoul. Her father had found a new job, and her mother thought the smaller town would be a better place to raise their daughter. Dasom thought it was the worst thing that could have happened. She was leaving her school, her friends, everything familiar. She was angry about it, though she tried not to show it to her parents. The house was small but nice. It had a small backyard with an old fruit tree and a fence that needed painting. Dasom walked through the empty rooms, her footsteps echoing. She unpacked her things slowly, arranging her books on shelves and hanging posters of space on her bedroom walls. She had always loved space, loved looking at pictures of galaxies and stars, loved reading about the possibility of life among the stars. The next morning, Dasom walked to her new school. The building was smaller than her old one, and everyone seemed to know each other already. They stared at her as she entered the classroom. The teacher introduced her to the class, and the children looked at her with curiosity and a little suspicion. She was new. She was different. She sat at an empty desk and tried to make herself invisible. At lunch, Dasom sat alone in the cafeteria, picking at her food and wishing she was back home in Busan. She had never been good at making new friends quickly. She preferred books to people. She preferred her own thoughts to conversations with people who did not understand her. After school, Dasom walked home slowly, exploring the neighborhood. She noticed a small park near her house. There were trees there and benches, and a place where she might be able to see the stars at night. She sat on a bench and looked at the sky, even though it was still afternoon and the stars were not visible. "Are you looking for something?" a voice asked. Dasom turned around. There was a boy standing nearby. He was about the same age as her, maybe a little older. He had quiet eyes and was holding a book. "I am looking at the sky," Dasom said. "I like to think about space. I like to think about what is out there beyond the clouds." The boy sat down on the bench next to her without asking permission. He opened his book. It was a science fiction novel. Dasom recognized the title. She had read it 3 times. "You have read that?" she asked. "Yes," the boy said. His name was Ji-ho. He was in a higher grade at the school. He had lived in this neighborhood his whole life. He loved science fiction. He loved thinking about space, too. They talked for hours that afternoon. Dasom found herself speaking more than she usually did. Ji-ho listened carefully, asking questions, sharing his own thoughts about aliens and distant planets and the possibility of civilizations beyond Earth. He did not laugh at her dreams. He did not think she was strange. He understood her. That became their routine. Every day after school, Dasom would go to the park. Usually, Ji-ho would be there, sitting under the old cherry blossom tree with a book. They would talk about stars and space and the future. They became friends very quickly, in a way that surprised Dasom. She had not thought it was possible to make a real friend so fast. Weeks turned into months. Dasom felt less angry about the move. The neighborhood was becoming familiar. The school was becoming less scary. And Ji-ho had become the most important part of her new life. One evening, Ji-ho invited Dasom to go to his house. They climbed to the roof, and from there, they could see the stars very clearly. The city lights were far away and the sky was dark and full of light. Dasom felt like she could reach up and touch the universe. "I am going to explore space one day," Dasom said. She was not just thinking about it anymore. She was certain about it. "I am going to become a scientist. I am going to travel to the stars. I am going to discover things that no one has ever discovered before." Ji-ho listened to her words. He believed her. She could see it in his face. He did not think she was impossible. He thought she was possible. He thought she could do anything. "When you become great," Dasom said, "when you explore the stars and discover amazing things, will you remember me?" "Of course," Jiho said. "How could I forget you?" Dasom felt something grow in her chest. It was not a feeling she understood completely, but it was warm and strong. She was 11 years old and she was falling in love, though she did not have the words for it yet. "When I become great," Dasom said, "I will come back to Earth, and I will find you, and I will marry you. That is a promise." Jiho looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was a real smile, not a mocking one. "Okay," he said. "I will wait for you." They sat on that roof for a long time, looking at the stars. Dasom felt like the stars were looking back at them, watching them make this impossible promise under the endless sky. Years passed. Dasom and Jiho were inseparable through middle school and high school. They went to the same high school. They studied together. They dreamed about the future together. Dasom was serious about her promise. She studied hard, focusing on science and mathematics. She was the best student in her class. Jiho did well too, but he was happy just being near her, listening to her dreams, helping her achieve them. Other people did not understand their friendship. Some thought they were romantic partners. Some thought they were strange. Dasom did not care what people thought. She had promised Jiho that she would return to him, and she meant to keep that promise. But when Dasom was 18 years old, her parents made an announcement. They had found better opportunities abroad. They were moving again, this time far away. This time it seemed permanent. Dasom sat with Jiho on their favorite roof one last time. She did not want to cry, but her eyes were wet. "I still promise," she said. "No matter where I go, no matter how long it takes, I will come back. I will find you. I will keep my promise." Jiho took her hand. "I will wait," he said. And Dasom believed him, even as she left him behind, even as she flew toward an unknown future, even as the world changed in ways neither of them could imagine. But waiting, as it would turn out, would be the easy part for Jiho. For Dasom, the real journey was only just beginning. 20 years had passed since that last goodbye on the rooftop. Jiho was now 38 years old, and he had become exactly what he was supposed to become. He was a respected professor of astrophysics at Seoul National University. His research on stellar formation had been published in important scientific journals. His students admired him. His colleagues respected his work. By every measure, Jiho had achieved success. But there was something empty about it all. Jiho lived in a small apartment near the university. It was clean and organized, filled with books and research papers. The walls were covered with photographs of galaxies and nebulas. On his desk, in a drawer he tried not to open very often, was an old photograph. It showed two young people sitting on a rooftop, looking at the stars. The girl was smiling at the camera. She looked happy. That was Dasom, before she disappeared from his life. He had tried to move on. He had dated a few women over the years. Some were nice, some were interesting, but none of them could hold his attention for very long. His colleagues would joke that he was married to his research, that no real woman could compete with his love for science. Jiho would smile politely at these jokes, but the truth was different. His heart was waiting for someone who had promised to return to him. 20 years was a long time to wait, but Jiho was a patient man. He had looked for Dasom online many times. He found nothing. It was as if she had disappeared completely from the world. Her parents had moved abroad, and there was no record of where they had gone. Jiho told himself that she had forgotten about him. She had probably found someone else. She had probably realized that a childhood promise made on a rooftop was not something to base a real life on. He told himself this repeatedly, but he did not really believe it. His work kept him busy. He taught classes, conducted research, attended conferences. He had a structured, ordered life. He had achieved the goals that most people would be happy about. But Jiho felt like he was living in a waiting room. He was waiting for something. He did not know what, but he could feel it in his chest, a constant, gentle ache. One day, something strange happened. The news reported that an alien spacecraft had appeared in Earth orbit. It was real. It was confirmed. Governments around the world were in a state of shock and panic. Scientists were excited and terrified at the same time. Jiho watched the news reports with the rest of the world, amazed at what he was seeing. An actual alien spacecraft, something that he had only read about in science fiction novels, was now real. The spacecraft was beautiful and terrible. It was made of materials that did not look like metal or anything human-made. It was shaped like a large crystal, catching light in ways that seemed impossible. It did not attack. It did not communicate. It simply hung in orbit above Earth, waiting. Days passed. Government officials met with military leaders. Religious leaders made statements. Scientists demanded to be allowed to study the phenomenon. And still, the spacecraft did nothing. It simply orbited above them, silent and impossible. Then, a message came through. It was in many languages at once. It was calm and clear. The aliens wanted to meet with a representative of Earth. They wanted to negotiate peaceful contact. They wanted only one human to board their ship. The world fell into chaos trying to figure out who should meet with the aliens. Different countries wanted their own representative chosen. The United Nations held emergency meetings. Presidents and prime ministers argued about who had the authority to decide such an important thing. Finally, after much debate, an international committee made a decision. They would choose a representative based on intellectual ability, scientific knowledge, and a calm temperament. Someone who could not be easily frightened or manipulated. Someone who understood science and could communicate with beings who were clearly highly advanced technologically. Jiho's name was suggested by the Korean government. He was known for his brilliant mind and his calm demeanor. He had published important research. He was respected in the international scientific community. He was the perfect choice. When the officials came to his office to ask him, Jiho was surprised. He had not expected this. But as he thought about it, he realized that this was something he had to do. His whole life had been about studying the stars. Now the stars were coming to him. It was a moment he could not refuse. The preparations for the meeting took several days. Jiho was briefed by military officials and diplomatic experts. He was given instructions on how to behave, what to say, what not to say. They warned him that the aliens might try to trick him. They might try to gather information about Earth's weaknesses. He should be careful about what he revealed. But Jiho felt strangely calm. Something about this situation felt right to him, though he could not explain why. It was almost like the universe was pushing him towards something, like this meeting was meant to happen. The day came to board the alien spacecraft. Jiho stood in a special location where a shuttle had been prepared to take him up to the orbiting ship. Thousands of people watched on screens around the world. Everyone was nervous. They did not know what would happen. Jiho walked into the shuttle. He sat down and tried to stay calm. The shuttle lifted off, carrying him upward, away from Earth, toward something completely unknown. He looked out the window at the planet below, getting smaller and smaller. He thought of Dasam, as he often did. He wondered if she was watching this somewhere in the world. He wondered if she cared. He wondered if she had ever thought of him in all these years. The shuttle docked with the alien spacecraft. Jiho felt the ship shift slightly. He was here. He was really here. This was real. The door to the shuttle opened. Jiho stood up and stepped out into the alien ship. The inside of the ship was nothing like he expected. It was vast and beautiful. The walls seemed to glow with soft light. The air was the same as Earth's air, breathable and comfortable. He walked forward slowly, looking around in wonder. He could hear footsteps. Someone was coming to meet him. When she appeared, Jiho's heart stopped. It was Dasam. But it was not Dasam. She was taller now, and her features had changed slightly. Her skin had a faint luminescence to it. Her eyes were larger and seemed to see more than human eyes. But it was definitely her. It was the girl from the rooftop. It was the person he had been waiting for. She looked at him, and tears began to run down her face. "Hello, Jiho," she said. "I kept my promise. I told you I would return." Jiho could not move. He could not speak. He could only stare at the woman standing before him, this person who looked like Dasam but was also completely changed. It was impossible. It could not be real, but her voice was the same. The way she looked at him was the same. "Dasam?" Jiho finally managed to say. His voice was very quiet. She nodded. "Yes, it is really me. I know this is shocking. I know you have many questions. But first, I need you to understand something. I am the Queen of the Kaildor Confederation. I have orchestrated this entire first contact with Earth so that I could find you. Everything that is happening right now, all of it, was planned so that I could keep my promise." Jiho felt the room spin slightly. "Queen? How was that possible? What was happening?" "Please," Dasam said, "come with me. I will explain everything. I will tell you what happened to me. But first, you need to understand that I have never forgotten you. For every single day of the past 20 years, I have carried the memory of that promise we made on the rooftop." She led him through corridors of the ship. Everything was beautiful and strange. The walls seemed to respond to Dasam's presence, glowing brighter as she passed. They came to a large chamber with windows that looked out at Earth below. Jiho could see the entire planet from here, blue and white and beautiful. Dasam began to tell her story. When her parents had moved abroad, she had gone with them. They had settled in Australia, and Dasam had continued to excel in school. But when she was 18, something extraordinary happened. She was playing in a park near her home when she felt a strange tingling sensation. She looked up and saw a small ship, invisible to everyone else but visible to her. She did not understand why she could see it when no one else could. A figure emerged from the ship. The figure was not human, but it was not frightening. It was elegant and calm. It explained to Dasam that her genetic makeup was unusual. She was one in a billion humans, born with a genetic structure that was compatible with Kaildor biology. The Kaildor had been searching Earth for centuries, looking for humans with this rare genetic marker. They had finally found her. The alien explained that the Kaildor could enhance her, could take her to their world, could give her the opportunity to do things that no human had ever done. But the choice was hers. She could stay on Earth and live a normal life, or she could come with them and explore a universe beyond her imagination. Dasam thought of her promise to Jiho. She thought of the roof and the stars. She thought of her dreams of space exploration, and she made a decision that would change everything. "I said yes," Dasam told Jiho. "I did not hesitate. The Kaildor took me away from Earth. They brought me to their homeworld and began to teach me about their civilization. They enhanced my body and my mind. Over time, I became stronger, faster, smarter. I could see things that normal humans could not see. I could process information at speeds that human brains cannot process. But the most important thing was that I remained human in my heart." The Kaildor had placed Dasam in their research division, studying other species and cultures. She learned their language, their science, their politics. She was brilliant at everything she did. She rose through the ranks quickly. The Kaildor were not a violent species, but they were competitive and ambitious. They respected intelligence and achievement. After 10 years, Dasam had become the lead researcher in xenoanthropology. After 15 years, she had moved into diplomacy and politics. She had the respect of the Kaldor people. She had influence and power. But the Kaldor government was old and stagnant. They had been exploring space for thousands of years, but they had not done anything remarkable in centuries. Dasom wanted to change that. She proposed a new approach. Instead of seeking out new species for conquest or assimilation, the Kaldor should seek partnership. They should build relationships based on mutual respect and cooperation. It was a radical idea. Many of the older leaders opposed it, but Dasom's intelligence and charisma eventually won them over. When the previous queen became too old to rule, the Kaldor people voted for a new leader. Surprisingly, they voted for Dasom. She was young, she was female, she was part human. Many thought she was too strange to be queen, but the majority believed in her vision, and so Dasom became the queen of the Kaldor Confederation. Her first major act as queen was to initiate contact with Earth. But she did not want to contact Earth randomly. She wanted to make sure that the representative sent to meet her would be someone special, someone who understood science and peace and the value of honest communication. She had one person in mind. She had never stopped thinking about him. "I searched for you," Dasom told Jiho. "I searched for years, but your government kept your information private. I could not find you directly, so I had to make a plan. I had to manipulate events so that you would be selected as Earth's representative. I had to bring you to me." "How did you do that?" Jiho asked. "I made sure that Earth's scientific community would recommend you specifically," Dasom said. "I influenced people, carefully, without letting anyone know what I was doing. And it worked. When the committee was formed to choose a representative, your name was at the top of the list." Jiho felt overwhelmed. Everything he thought he understood about the past few weeks was now different. This entire event had been orchestrated around him. But he did not feel angry. Instead, he felt amazed. This woman, this girl who had promised to return to him, had somehow become the queen of an alien civilization, and she had kept her promise. Against all odds, she had found him. "I can see this is difficult for you," Dasom said. "I am sorry for the deception, but I could not think of any other way. If I had simply contacted you directly, you might not have believed me. You might have thought it was a trick. I needed you to see me for yourself. I needed you to understand that I am real, that I am still Dasom, even though I have changed." She moved closer to him. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warm, and her touch was gentle, just as he remembered from 20 years before. "I have kept my promise, Jiho," she said. "I explored the stars. I discovered amazing things. I became something great, and I returned to you. Now I am asking you to keep your promise too. I am asking you to marry me. I am asking you to be my partner, not just as my husband, but as humanity's representative in this new age. Will you do that?" Jiho looked into her eyes. He could see the Dasom he had known as a boy, but he could also see someone else, something more. He could see the queen, the woman who had traveled across the universe and become something remarkable. "Yes," he said. "Yes, I will keep my promise." Dasom smiled, and it was the same smile from that day on the rooftop. She had come home, and she had brought him home with her. When Jiho returned to Earth, the world was in complete chaos. The news that he had met with the alien queen had spread everywhere. Governments wanted to know every detail of his conversation with her. Military leaders wanted to understand if the aliens were a threat. Religious leaders argued about whether alien life was even possible, and everyone had a different opinion about what contact with an alien civilization meant for humanity's future. The situation became more complicated when Dasom made her intentions public. She wanted to establish peaceful relations with Earth. She wanted to form a partnership between the Kaeldor Confederation and humanity. She wanted to share technology and knowledge and build something new together. It sounded wonderful to many people, but to others, it was terrifying. Some countries saw the Kaeldor as an opportunity to gain power. They wanted to form special alliances, hoping to get advanced technology that would give them an advantage over other nations. Some religious organizations declared that the aliens were demons or tests from God. They said that humans should have nothing to do with alien beings. Some scientists were simply skeptical. They wanted proof that this was all real, that this was not some kind of trick or test. And many people blamed Ji-ho. He had gone to the alien ship. He had met with the Queen. And now everyone assumed he was somehow connected to the aliens. Some people thought he was a traitor to humanity. Some thought he had been brainwashed or that he was lying about what he had seen. Letters came to the university. Some were kind and supportive. Many were angry and accusing. Ji-ho tried to ignore the criticism and focus on helping humanity understand the Kaeldor. He gave lectures and interviews. He explained what he had learned on the ship. He talked about Dasom and her vision for peaceful cooperation between species. But for every person who believed him and wanted to work with the aliens, there were 10 others who were suspicious and afraid. Dasom remained patient. She did not demand anything from Earth. She simply waited, and she continued to broadcast her message. She wanted partnership, not conquest. She wanted humans to choose to join her vision, not be forced into it. But within the Kaeldor Confederation itself, Dasom was facing serious problems. Many of the older members of the Kaeldor government did not approve of her choices. They had ruled for thousands of years through strength and conquest. Now their young, part-human queen wanted to change everything. They saw it as weakness. They saw her relationship with Ji-ho as proof that she was being controlled by human emotions, that she was not thinking clearly. A group of powerful Kaeldor leaders began to plot against her. They called themselves the Council of the Ancient Ones. They believed that the Kaeldor should maintain their dominance over other species, not befriend them. They were planning to remove Dasom from power and place one of their own in charge instead. Dasom told Ji-ho about this danger. She was trying to be brave, but Ji-ho could see the fear in her eyes. This was not just about politics. This was about her life, about her ability to lead, about the future of her civilization. "They think I have become weak because of you," Dasom said to him. "They think that my love for you has made me less able to be queen. They want to use this against me." "What will you do?" Ji-ho asked. "I have to prove that I am strong," Dasom said. "I have to show them that my vision for partnership is not weakness, but strategy. Partnership with other species will make the Kaeldor stronger, not weaker. But I need to prove this, and I need to do it quickly, before they can gather enough support to remove me." Ji-ho spent hours thinking about this problem. He was a scientist. He understood logic and evidence, and he suddenly had an idea. What if they could show the Kaeldor Council that Dasom's strategy made sense from a purely strategic, non-emotional point of view? What if they could prove that peaceful partnership was actually more beneficial than conquest? He began to gather data. He studied the history of the Kaeldor civilization. He analyzed their economic systems, their resource usage, their technological development. He created mathematical models showing how different strategies affected long-term civilizational success. The data was clear. Species that were forced into submission tended to rebel and cause problems. Species that were treated as partners tended to be more productive and peaceful. Partnership actually made the Kaeldor stronger. Ji-ho presented his research to Dasom. She studied it carefully, nodding as she read. "This is brilliant," she said. "This proves what I have been saying, but it proves it using science instead of just vision. The Council will have to listen to this." But there was a problem. The Council of the Ancient Ones did not want to listen to logic. They wanted power. When Dasam presented Jiho's research at a council meeting, they dismissed it immediately. They said that the calculations were flawed. They said that they did not trust research done by a human. They accused Dasam of using deception and manipulation. Then one of the council members made an accusation that shocked everyone. He said that Dasam was planning to give control of the Kaldor Confederation to humans. He said that she wanted to share power with Jiho. He said that she was betraying the Kaldor people by falling in love with an alien. Other council members began to openly support his accusations. The situation was becoming dangerous. Dasam could lose her throne. She could lose her power. And if that happened, everything she had been trying to build would be destroyed. But something unexpected happened. Scientists from across the Kaldor Confederation began to speak up. They had read Jiho's research. They had verified his calculations. They confirmed that his conclusions were correct. Partnership with other species was indeed a stronger strategy than conquest. More and more Kaldor voices began to support Dasam. Meanwhile, on Earth, the international community had been listening to everything. A group of world leaders and scientists came together and made a public statement. They said that they supported Dasam's vision for partnership. They said that humanity wanted to work with the Kaldor. They said that they trusted Dasam to lead this new era of cooperation between species. This public support from Earth was crucial. It showed the Kaldor that a major species was willing to partner with them. It showed that Dasam's vision was not just a dream. It was becoming reality. The Council of the Ancient Ones tried to call for a vote to remove Dasam from power, but they did not have enough support. The younger members of the Kaldor government voted against them. The scientists voted against them. The people voted against them. Dasam's position became even stronger. One of the council members who had opposed her the most made an announcement. He said that he had been plotting against Dasam. He said that he had been working with other members to remove her from power. He asked for forgiveness. It turned out that another council member had provided secret evidence to Dasam proving the conspiracy. The conspirators were arrested and faced trial. Dasam could have been very angry at these people. She could have had them executed or imprisoned forever, but instead she showed mercy. She had them sent to rehabilitation and education programs. She believed that understanding and compassion were stronger than revenge. This act of compassion made the Kaldor people love Dasam even more. She had been right all along. She was not weak. She was strong in a different way. She was strong enough to be merciful. She was strong enough to believe in change and partnership instead of violence and conquest. Jiho watched all of this from Dasam's side. He had helped save her throne. He had helped save her vision. And he realized that together they could actually change the universe. Together, they could build something new. Dasam looked at him one evening as they stood in the observation chamber looking down at Earth. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for helping me become the queen I wanted to be." "I would do anything for you," Jiho said. "That promise we made on the rooftop, it was the most important promise I have ever made. I am honored to keep it." And Dasam knew that together they were ready for whatever came next. The peace that followed the failed coup did not last as long as anyone had hoped. 3 months after the conspirators were sentenced to rehabilitation, a new problem emerged. It came from within the Kaldor military. The military leaders had been silent during the recent political conflict. They had not openly opposed Dasam, but they had not supported her either. They seemed to be waiting for something. Now finally they made their move. A high-ranking military commander named Torkal announced that he was taking control of the Kaldor Confederation. He said that the military had a responsibility to protect the Kaldor people from mistakes made by weak leadership. He said that Dasam's partnership with humans was actually a military strategy that would eventually fail, leaving the Kaldor vulnerable. He called for Dasam's immediate removal from power. Unlike the Council of the Ancient Ones, Torkal actually had support. The military controlled the most powerful weapons. Many of the lower-ranking Keldor were influenced by military propaganda, which constantly repeated the message that humans were a threat. Torkal moved quickly, positioning military forces around Dasam's palace and blocking her communications with the rest of the Keldor Confederation. Dasam and Jiho found themselves cut off. They could not contact anyone outside the palace. They could not leave. Torkal had essentially placed Dasam under house arrest. "This is more serious than before," Dasam said to Jiho. She was trying to stay calm, but Jiho could hear the worry in her voice. "The military has resources and loyalty that the council members did not have. If Torkal succeeds in convincing the military that I am a threat to the Keldor people, I am finished." "There has to be a way," Jiho said. He was thinking, analyzing the situation like a scientist analyzes a problem. Torkal's weakness is that his argument is based on fear, not on truth. If we can find a way to communicate with the Keldor people to show them the real situation, we can counter his propaganda. Then Jiho remembered something important. The observation deck of the palace had a secret broadcast system. It was designed for the Queen to address the people directly in times of emergency. Dasam's predecessor had used it during a natural disaster to give instructions to the population. The system was independent of the main communications network. Torkal's people might not know about it. They made their way carefully through the palace to the observation deck. Along the way, they had to hide from military guards several times. Jiho's heart was pounding. If they were caught, Torkal might decide that Dasam was too dangerous to keep alive. Finally, they reached the observation deck. Dasam activated the ancient broadcast system. It took several minutes to power up, but soon it was ready. Dasam would be able to broadcast her voice to every Keldor in the Confederation. She would be able to tell the truth directly to the people. But what would she say? How could she convince an entire civilization to choose her over a powerful military commander? Dasam stood before the communication device. She took a deep breath, and then she spoke. "I am Queen Dasam," she said. Her voice carried calm and strength. "I know that many of you have heard lies about me and about my partnership with humanity. I know that Commander Torkal has told you that I am weak, that I am betraying the Keldor people, that humans are a threat to our civilization. I am here to tell you the truth." She paused. She was choosing her words carefully. "I am part human," she continued. "I was born on a planet called Earth. I grew up there, and I learned about Earth ways before I ever came to the Keldor civilization. Many of you might think that this makes me less Keldor than you are. But I want to tell you something important. My human side is not a weakness. It is a strength. It has taught me the value of partnership, cooperation, and peace. These are not things that weak civilizations believe in. These are things that strong civilizations believe in. On Earth, world leaders and scientists were watching this broadcast. They heard Dasam's words, and they knew they needed to do something. They quickly organized a message of support. Within hours, every major country on Earth had released a statement saying that they supported Dasam and her vision for partnership. But more importantly, the scientific communities of both worlds began to work together. Human and Keldor scientists formed research teams. They began to work on joint projects. They showed the Keldor people that cooperation with humans was producing real results, real benefits. Technology was advancing faster. Scientific knowledge was growing. The partnership was working. The military forces that Torkal had assembled began to waver. They were hearing about positive results from human cooperation. They were seeing that their own people supported Dasam. Torkal tried to maintain control, but his authority was crumbling. Then something unexpected happened. One of Torkal's own generals, a Keldor named Satar, announced that she was defecting from the military coup. Satar had been impressed by Ji-ho's research. She believed that Dasom was right about partnership being a strength. She turned the military forces that she controlled against Torkal. Torkal, seeing that he was losing, tried to make a dramatic move. He attempted to place a bomb in Dasom's palace. But Ji-ho and Dasom had anticipated this possibility. They had prepared a trap. When Torkal's forces moved toward the palace, they were met by military units loyal to Satar. There was a brief confrontation, but Torkal's forces surrendered quickly. He had lost. His coup had failed. Torkal was arrested. He would face trial for treason, but Dasom surprised everyone again. Instead of demanding harsh punishment for Torkal, she offered him the same thing she had offered the council members who conspired against her. She offered him education and rehabilitation. She believed that Torkal had been afraid, and fear was something that could be healed. This act of compassion was not weakness. It was the opposite. It showed the entire Kaldor Confederation that Dasom's way of thinking was stronger than the way of violence and revenge. After the military coup collapsed, everything changed. The Kaldor people began to truly embrace partnership with humanity. Joint governments were formed. Scientists began collaborating openly. Trade and cultural exchange became normal. The Kaldor Confederation became the Kaldor Partnership, with humans as equal members. Ji-ho was offered a position as one of the representatives of humanity in the partnership government. He accepted. He and Dasom began to work side by side, not just as a romantic couple, but as genuine partners in building a new civilization. One evening, they stood on the observation deck again, looking at Earth and looking at the Kaldor homeworld. Both were beautiful. Both were home. "We have faced so many challenges," Dasom said. "Every time I think the obstacles are too great, you find a way to help me overcome them." "We do it together," Ji-ho said. "That is what partnership means. We are stronger together than we would ever be apart." Dasom took his hand. "I am ready," she said. "I am ready to make this permanent. I am ready to make the promise we made on that rooftop something official and real." Ji-ho understood what she was saying. She was ready to get married. She was ready to join their lives together completely. "Yes," he said. "Yes, I am ready too." And they stood together, looking at the two worlds that had come together because of two children who had made a promise under the stars.